Welcome. I thought I'd do a quick video on how to draw a circle of fifths. Before we draw them, I might have a look at what they look like and we do a bit of a search. So let's give a bit of a search. Circle of. We'll go to images and you'll find there are heaps of diagrams out there. Color-coded, detailed, not so detailed, depending on your circumstance or what you like. So let's look at how to draw one and what they entail in a second. First, how could you use them? So let's have a bit of a look, a bit of a think here. Some of the ways I use them tend to be written tests. Students, I find, need a system to help them out. They don't always practice different sorts of things on the instruments, so I find that they need a tool just to get them started in the first couple of years of learning a lot of theory, and then eventually they've learnt them on the instruments. Things that helps them out with is key signatures, particularly, is probably one of the first things you learn. I tend to focus more on the major key signatures first, then the minor key signatures, and then I look at the relatives between the two. When you might have a minor key signature, you might want to work out what's its relative major, or you've got the major key signature and you want to work out the relative minor. Okay, so next I use it a lot to create either the major or minor scales and sometimes some other ones. Next I tend to think about it in songwriting, when you're trying to work out what chords will work in a chord progression. And finally, when you're thinking about modulating to other keys, there are other uses, but these are the first few that you might want to start out with when learning about circle of fifths. So let's look at how do we draw a circle of fifths. So first, you need a circle. Then I break it down into quarters, just like a clock. Then I break that into two segments in each section. And now we can start labelling it. Now with a circle of fifths, all of the segments move in perfect fifths. And the way I tend to remember what these perfect fifths are, I tend to use a bit of a rhyme. So just down the bottom here, I'll write the first fifth I might start with would be maybe an F, and a fifth from F would be F, G, A, B, C would be my next one, and then you'd work out the next one. After that we'd have G, then D, A, E and B. Now, a way that you might be able to remember this, and this is a secret, I wouldn't be telling this to young students or people who might be sensitive about certain public figures. And so now that we've got that disclaimer out the way, I tend to use it with my students and they remember it every single time. They'll never forget it, and you'll never unlearn or unhear what I'm about to say. So if you're unprepared to hear this, please turn the video off now. If you are prepared to hear this, here we go. So, Father Christmas gets drunk and eats babies. And we can apply that to our circle. Now, one of the first scales or keys you might deal with would be the key of C. So let's put that right up the top there. And then if we apply these letters around the circle of fifth, so before C we put the F in, then we've got the G, the D, A, E and B. Okay, and we've got nearly the entire around the other side done. Now if we went backwards, there's a few ways you could continue using that same rhyme, but another thing I tend to remember is going backwards from F, perfect fifth, you'll end up landing on a B flat. And the first four flats, if we can continue around, spell bead. So we can actually use this word going around. B, E, A, D. Okay, and if I wanted to add my last one right down the bottom, a fifth from B will land on an F sharp. And if you're trying to work it out, you'd remember that you've already used F, you'd have to use something different. I won't go into the other names for the bottom area of the circle. There's some enharmonic equivalent names to ones down the bottom, but I'll leave them alone for now. The next thing I might look at is the inside of the circle. So the outside and inside of the circles give us different bits of information. The outside tends to focus on major keys, and on the inside tend to focus on the minor keys. Okay, so directly in relation to C, if you go up a sixth from C, you'd end up landing on A. And if we put that in the middle, and those who, if you look at playing these notes on an instrument, if you play from C to C with all the musical alphabet letters, you'll end up with a C major scale. If you start on A, going from A to A, you'd end up with the natural A minor scale. And now we can, on the inside, we can apply our fifths as well. So we've already got A, so if we backfill, we can start F around here and apply the same thing. Now we can keep going with the rhymes. So after B, we worked out before we had F sharp. Next one we'd have C sharp, then G sharp, okay, and got things bleeping around here. Yep. Then we'd have a D sharp, and to keep things simple, before F we had a B flat earlier. We can put that in there, and now you've got your complete circle of fifths. Okay. Now a few little quick things. So on the outside we've got our major, on the inside we've got our minor. And if we think about our keys, up the top we think C major has no sharps or flats. And if we're going around the right, we want to think of keys with sharps. If we go around the left hand side, we'll think of keys with flats. So if we go around from C, we end up on G. G will have one sharp. D will have two sharps, and so on. We can keep number these. And if we go the other way around, F would have one flat, B flat would have two flats, and so on. Okay. The final thing I'll talk about is, so we've looked at major keys on the outside of the circle, we've looked at minor keys on the inside of the circle, and I hinted at it before where you can have the relatives are related with each other. So E minor and G major share the same one sharp. Okay. The last thing I'll add with this is, if we go back to our rhyme, Father Christmas gets drunk and eats babies, this also gives you your order of sharps and order of flats. So starting at the F end, that will give you your order of sharps, going F, C, G, D, A, E and B. And if you reverse that, start at the B end, that will give you your order of flats, going B, E, A, D, G, C, F. Okay, so I think that will conclude us for now. So hopefully you're being able to draw a circle of fifths quite easily with a bit of practice and using a rhyme and drawing it. I've had students have this sketched out in less than 30 seconds, and they've been able to use it for many different ways, as I mentioned earlier. So good luck, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you thought this was worthwhile. Also, if you want to comment on any other ideas I might do as a video, that would be very helpful. Thanks.